Ukraine, another difficult zone. And why would Elon Musk, Starlink not work when Ukraine started making territorial gains? How should we understand this? Was it deliberate, or was it, it just happened?
No, this was not just an incident. It was not the first of its kind, because at various other points, um, Musk has tried to essentially play that game, and yank Starlink when Ukraine, to prevent Ukraine from making gains. So this this happened during key phases of Ukraine's counteroffensive. Starlink has become a critical communications backbone for Ukrainian military units after U.S. signed a new military agreement with Musk that allowed its use in military and not just civilian operations. And this access was reportedly being throttled or denied across near frontline engagements in the late spring. The Ukrainian forces were advancing into contested territory in the south and east, including, the occupied lands and also close to the Russian borders. Ukrainian officials at the time voiced concerns. Commanders reported unexpected outages in encrypted communications, drone link failures, and coordination breakdowns during operations. These were not just technical glitches, they had tactical consequences. Units were forced to retreat or delay operations due to loss of satellite guidance. Um, some analysts actually claimed that these communications gaps contributed directly to the slowdown in Ukraine's advances. They were not the only factor. Another major factor was the fact that at the same time, Trump and his officials froze defensive aid to Ukraine, and of course froze all offensive aid. We remember that some of that happened earlier as well, after the dispute with Zelensky over the minerals deal, which resulted to the Ukrainian offensive in Kursk collapsing, and people claim that this was a deliberate move by Trump to help Putin out as much as possible. He was failing, and this essentially saved him. So we're seeing a pattern of such incidents across the board that may have been coordinated between Trump and Musk. No one is saying that directly. Musk had his own reasons, including the fact that Russian oligarchs invested into his purchase of Twitter, which he could not afford due to lack of liquidity of assets at the time. Uh, Musk claimed that Starlink was never intended to support offensive military operations. He claimed that this was an ethical decision, not a political one. He emphasized his concern over escalation and the risk of being seen as an active participant in the conflict, but leaked emails and insider reports suggest that this was made in coordinations with discussions involving both Russian interlocutors and US officials who feared uncontrolled escalation. In other words, who were essentially sympathetic to Russia and wanted to give it some leverage. All of this resulted in a firestorm of criticism. The detractors are claiming that Musk, who is a private actor with immense influence over critical infrastructure, is unilaterally shaping global conflicts and picking winners and choosers. I'm not sure it's quite as easy as that. Whatever Musk's personal views, his contract obligations with the US government give at least as much leverage to the US government, which can simply deny additional contracts if Musk plays along, which leads me to believe that the US government was at least okay with that decision. They certainly didn't put a stop in it quickly enough. Musk has had many, shall we say, irregularities with various of his operations, which the US government could have easily decided to scrutinize if they wished to leverage him into doing what needed to be done as soon as possible, which lends credibility to this coordination with U.S. government, and not just some officials or operatives, but the Trump administration itself, the cabinet at the very least, and most likely with president's approval at the very least. Um,
Absolutely.
Yeah. This of course has led to members of Congress in US and lawmakers in Europe raising questions about regulatory oversight of space-based communications during wartime. The Pentagon has started exploring alternatives to Starlink to avoid dependence on a single provider, and this is happening just as other countries are investing into their own satellites. And this has strained Ukraine's relationship with Musk, who was at one point hailed as a hero for deploying Starlink terminals early in the war. The Kiev officials are now reassessing their reliance on any single tech partner and exploring deals with European and Asian satellite firms. European Union has acquired a new um, project. I don't know whether it has yet been fully implemented, but this Iris um, project is would be such an alternative, and this shift reflects a growing awareness of the geopolitical vulnerabilities of relying on a privately controlled infrastructure. And the broader implications of that, of course, go far beyond Ukraine. We have seen Musk try to do the same in Taiwan, where he refused to give Starlink cover to US troops in Taiwan due to his business investments in China. As tech companies continue to play leading roles in military, humanitarian, and communications domain, accountability becomes more of a pressing issue. Uh, Musk's role in shaping these conflicts may set an unwanted precedent for future conflicts where CEOs and not generals or diplomats determine the operational scope of war support technologies. So we're seeing a huge ethical question over the convergence of tech and geopolitics and the fragility of modern defense systems reliant on private platforms, the risks of entrusting strategic infrastructure to actors with ambiguous loyalties and opaque decision making processes. All of that is quite a mess.